day. Okay,
Ginger.
the meeting is now called to order. Jeannie, would you like to do the roll call?
Commissioner Lesniak?
Here.
Commissioner Harrington?
Here.
Commissioner Wade?
Here.
Commissioner White? Chairperson Crock?
Here.
Just to note, Commissioner White is absent.
Okay, orders of the day. Do we have any orders of the day?
Nope, everything is as on the agenda.
Okay. Public comment at this point, if anyone has anything to talk about that's not on the agenda, you are welcome to come speak for 3 minutes.
Any rants or
Rants.
problems?
Ducks.
Okay, the public comment is closed. Approval of the minutes of March 7th. Does anyone have
I
anything?
read through them and they look fine. I would
Okay.
move to approve the minutes.
I second it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 401. Commissioner White absent.
Okay. Public hearings, 18528 Beck Avenue. The applicant requests approval of a site development permit for an addition and remodel of an existing single-story residence. The proposal includes 2 additions to the rear of the home, as well as an extension of the attached garage out front with a second-story accessory dwelling unit above the garage. The first floor additions are approximately 593 square feet, with the second-story accessory dwelling unit measuring 729 square feet. The proposal does include the removal of 1 significant tree. Jeannie, could you tell us about this?
You pretty much captured it in that, but
Well, you wrote it so well.
so this is it's a remodel with some additions to the living area, a couple of them to the rear at the first floor level. They are utilizing the existing garage, continuing to use it, and then adding on more garage space. And above that new garage area are constructing an accessory dwelling unit that's just under the allowable 800 square foot or the amount allowed for an accessory dwelling unit. They're going to retain the existing horizontal siding. I think they're removing some of the brick that's currently part of it, but then continuing to utilize the horizontal siding. Looks pretty good. They are moving 1 tree where they're putting a covered parking space, but other than that, they're looking to retain all the other trees along that western edge of the property. The applicant's architect is in the audience and can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Would the architect or owner like to come explain the project?
Hi, Eric. Can we come up?
Yeah,
You stand up at that
there.
podium there.
Oh, yes, we're very official here.
Yeah, that's right. The opossums that chased me here. I've been working with Jeannie quite a bit on this because I like to come in real early and say what's going on. So she's actually been a co-shaper of the project. That's how we like to do our projects, is everybody's on board. And working with Joe and Ingrid on this. So they bought this lovely house, fairly recently. It's a 70s kind of classic little house that's similar to the house I grew up in Oklahoma, back when things looked kind of the same in each state. And what they're trying to do is actually just kind of augment the house. And, in a sense, what we tried to do was give the house a little bit more of a face. Right now, it doesn't have a particularly happy face to the street, or it's unclear where the entry is. And so in a way, we're kind of just trying to, in a really actually small gesture with that front porch, which is, I think, a nice gesture to the street, even though really it's a dead-end street. There's only 1 house or 2 houses on this little dead-end street. But it's a really lovely, setting. And actually, their house is actually quite kind of low in terms of how the other houses are. The house to the just to the south, kind of downhill, is actually a lot more stronger face, kind of out there. This Mediterranean thing. It's about 2 or 3 stories tall. So this one's actually quite back across the lawn. We're actually going to reorient a little bit of the driveway, which will actually reduce some of that in the front yard, which is just a kind of discretionary thing. And then there's the garage, because both Joe and Ingrid are into different vehicles, Volkswagen camper, little pickup truck, all kinds of stuff. So they're into vehicles. So the garage is kind of for that kind of activity. And then they have a large blended family with lots of kids of various sizes that show up. So they're kind of, they're both entrepreneurs, in Silicon Valley, and that's what kind of family they have. So they're kind of making a little tech workshop practically for their large blended adults, that they have. So the ADU and the other, they have a room in the back, which is kind of a conservatory room. That's going to be more for, if they do startups or have meetings. It's kind of just almost this, make it more of I'd say a house, instead of a house, 10 years ago, it'd just be a house with a bunch of bedrooms. But now the way that people work with laptops, the way we all work, like I'm involved with a couple startups too. I'm on a cyber advisory board at Hoover Institute. I'm on a couple startups. I have all these different things going on. And so sometimes you need a house that has different places to allow those meetings to happen, off-site. So I think that's what they are kind of creating. Yet at the same time, I think, doing it in a discreet way. So they've been really involved in the design of it. So in a sense, it's and the garage, I'll give the history. We thought we'd do this kind of car barn at the back of the house, but the lot with the setbacks and the slopes, and that's what was great working with Jeannie. She's amazing. So you've got quite a great plan. Well, you are. Because that's, as an architect, we're trying to guess, and the best way for us to do our work is to work with the city and figure out what works best on the site with the community. It's not a hidden agenda, like how can we shape something? So she's been really, really helpful. She actually helped steer the design. Why don't you do this? I'm like, that's a great idea. So anyway, that's how creativity flows. So the front, we're like, realize, oh gosh, let's put it in the front of the house and put the garage there. And actually what it did was it kind of helps, I'll stop with one more sentence. It almost anchors the yard, because right now the house almost is, I'd say almost lost in a way. It's so far back up the hill, and it's all these hip roofs, and then the front door is way over to the side, and you kind of got to swing around. Now we're actually kind of embracing the yard with an L. So in a sense, we're making the front yard a public space, I think, which is, again, I'm kind of talking with stronger words than actually how I think it's actually going to be perceived in real life. It's not going to be some huge thing, but it's going to have a nice feeling when you drive by. Any questions?
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Oh, I should say the one tree we're removing one tree, but it's actually a tree that's like doing this, and I think it's over mature, so it's actually a tree that's actually dodgy regardless, so. And another tree that's next door, we're actually going to prune to make healthier. So they're really sensitive to the trees there. So anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you for letting me talk.
Anybody have questions?
Really, it's all pretty straightforward on the plans.
I assume the exterior of the home is going to basically be the same as it
Yeah.
is now.
Yeah, the brick we're taking off in the front is actually falling off already. It's kind of doing this. So there's just one stretch on the front was actually brick. Really, it's all horizontal siding. That's all staying. So in a sense, a lot of 80% of the form of the house is staying the same. We're just kind of like giving it a new entry porch to kind of say, hey, here's the front door, and here's a kind of a public, porches. If you go through Los Gatos, Monte Sereno, they're actually super important for the streetscape. And that when you walk around, that's what you actually, that's the face of a house. Porches are really, really important in the history of American architecture. They're really important, I think, for streets. So that's what this is doing. Just kind of saying, hey, here's the front porch, and it's.
I just have a question
Yeah.
about the actual work to be done, the
Yes.
staging. The staging of it, because that's a really narrow road and it ends in those two driveways.
Oh, right, yes.
So have you given thought to how it'll be workable to have the big trucks there and?
Well, right now the driveway's ginormous. It's an enormous. So we're actually going to reduce that at the end, make it smaller. So right now, I think we actually shouldn't have any great staging issues.
Nothing on the street?
I mean, there's houses. The houses next door have all kinds of construction. There's guys in the street all the time.
Okay, so that's not,
I don't think. I mean, I've got some other. We're doing a 3,000 square foot house on a 2,700 square foot lot in Santa Cruz. 3,000 square foot on a 2,700 square foot lot on a triangle, and we're like, worked with the city, and it's all tight. So this, I think, and we're going to do tree fencing, protect trees, of course. But I think we're going to be fine, just because.
Yeah, I think, if there is an issue, clearly they can pull a lot of the trucks onto the site.
Yeah.
And it is, again, there's another house under construction, so.
Right.
I think who's ever doing it is probably pretty aware of what, there is also parking areas in the front of this lot. They just actually took a tree out that was leaning and blocking some of that. So there's a lot of area, I think, right in front of this lot, as well as on the site,
okay.
on the paved driveway and stuff. So hopefully they'll make use of all of that before they do anything else. But there's not a heavily trafficked.
No.
Yeah. And Joe and Ingrid have had a neighborhood party to show the plan, so everybody's like blessed or knows what's going on, so it's not some surprise. So
Okay.
yeah. Thanks for the question.
That was my question.
It looks like you can use the existing driveway for parking vehicles and parking
Yeah, for the construction. That's what I mean. It's actually a really large block. It's ironic. I mean, that's why when Jeannie, we were like trying to figure out how are we going to do this, and we're like, why don't we just do something here? Because the code and the zoning. So we're kind of using that huge blacktop right now for part of the building, but it still keeps going on and on and on. So there's actually a big level area out in front. Yeah, so I don't think that should be a big problem.
Okay, anybody else?
I mean, it's very prominent, but not in a bad way. I mean, the lot can totally handle what you got going on here. And it doesn't look like it negatively impacts any of the neighbors. Any input from the neighbors, or?
Well, they'd be here if they're.
I guess they would be here. I don't need.
Well, the only thing I was going to say, and this is very much Ingrid's party more than mine, but we really did make sure that we talked to every single neighbor and had them all over, went through the plans, offered input. And the neighbor that's probably most, I hate to say encroached, but the people on the garage side, we even had them over one-on-one and looked at the story poles together, and they're like, yeah, this is all good. And we offered that we could get Eric back involved if they had a concern, and they said this looks fabulous and actually is good for the neighborhood. And to the parking question during construction, there was kind of the, it's your turn, we get it, not a problem. So no, it all seems very copacetic, and we'll make sure we keep it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of vegetation between those two.
Yeah.
I walked through the neighbor's yard, and I couldn't even see the netting. I could hardly.
Yeah, I mean, the
hardly
lot can
see
totally handle.
the story poles.
Yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing with like black and white drawings, it's like it makes it look like this big thing, but in real life, the house is really, compared to the neighbors, it's kind of really sunk down, whereas the one down especially is really close to the street,
Yeah.
and kind of like this big palazzo, it feels like, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And does someone want to make a motion on it?
Well, first we had to close the.
Oh, we closed the public hearing. Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Now we discuss. What does anyone want to talk about?
I think it's an asset to the neighborhood, and I think it's a good design.
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree with that.
like I said, it's when you drive up the street, you really see it.
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing there right now. But again, I don't think it's bad. I mean, I think it will be quite attractive, actually. You're going to see that little ridge dormer sticking out of the side there with a trellis, and I think it'll be very attractive.
It's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
my original thing was it seems a bit imposing the second story part that jets towards the street, but at the same time, the lot can handle it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, when I first saw the plans, I was like, wow, this is big, but there were no story poles.
that's why story
And
poles
now
are.
when I see the story poles, I'm like, okay, I get an idea here, and I don't think there's going to be any problem, and I think it's a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Okay. I motion to approve the plan. What wait, let me just back up. Are we gonna require them to plant trees in replacement of what's being removed?
There's a lot of trees there.
That's how I feel.
There's a lot there.
Let's just call it out. I think they have adequate trees as is, and we should let it
Yeah,
go.
I mean, this isn't a blank lot.
Well, and I
There-
think a
it's
lot of times
heavily
it
wooded, yeah,
helps
yeah.
to thin the trees anyway
Yeah,
for the long-term growth of the larger trees, so I think I'm in agreement that we leave it alone. Okay.
I'm not inclined to impose additional tree planting because of that one tree removal.
With that being said, I motion to approve the plan as presented.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That was easy. You're welcome. Good luck. Welcome to Monte Sereno. A little different than Los Gatos.
I want that garage.
I know.
I want the
Yeah,
garage.
no doubt. Just one question. Are the cars that are dashed, are those cars that you want to get?
Okay,
I don't think,
well,
I've never seen a 10-car home
Decatur.
in this
There's one
town.
on Decatur.
24 is the record.
24.
But they did a car gallery, basically, it was for car collecting.
Okay, well, with no further ado, the meeting is adjourned before Heather gets up and walks out.
Very kick back tonight.
Yeah.
Nice refreshing.
Good luck with your home.
Yeah.